Hello.
Wasn't sure the PowerPoint, so I sent it to you, put it on Google Drive. So is it easier on here?
Is it on Google Drive, you said?
Yes.
Share it with you. Just share it with me. Yep. Share me the link. Yep.
I forgot. Does PowerPoint pack the images?
Do I know?
Yeah. Does PowerPoint pack any images added?
Yeah, it's all added. Yeah. So if you guys want to help yourself to this, to everything on the table, you can go ahead and begin. If you want to do that, that'd be great. And if you are presenting, if I don't have your presentation already, you can bring it up. Otherwise, we'll go with what we got. Cool. But help yourself to the smorgasbord. There we go. Do I know? Yeah, we had a meeting Tuesday, and looks like the 15th of December is the day we're looking at. Yep. And our son's going to be coming in from Missouri that day, so it's going to work out pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, so thanks for asking. But yeah, she's doing much better. So, yep. Day by day, a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You share it?
Some public, yeah, I'm waiting for it to log in.
Okay.
Any tips on
So did you want me to do the PowerPoint that you sent? You want me to use that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't have the images. I'll just send it to you.
All right. No, you're fine.
Any tips for public speaking?
What now?
Any tips for public speaking? I'm terrible.
Tips?
Yeah.
Oh, just be yourself. Just talk like you would to me after class. That's what I always tell students. Kind of look at it like that, and you'll be fine. You'll do good.
All the information's up here. I just don't want to get lost.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're fine. Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hello, how you doing? Good. 16. How are we doing, sir? Make sure you get some food after you check in, okay?
You did get the one that I sent?
345. Yep, that's the one I got.
Yeah.
I tested it, and
That's a better one.
sounds
A
good.
little longer too.
Nope, sounds good. Yeah.
If I go last, I get last.
You want to go last? That's fine. All right.
Nice thing is, I thought this was a box. They still go. CPU is obviously problematic.
That photo didn't say it was That photo didn't say it was sign in.
It didn't save on your phone? No, you took a picture of it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Hold up here. I remember you taking that.
I swear I saved it too.
Well, yeah, do you have an iPhone? Yeah, it should save automatically to your camera roll. That's weird. All right, let me pull it up.
I went to the oldest Chinese restaurant. Every single day it was on the
There you go. That's all right, no problem.
who eats with always dealing with this stuff. This one is the business.
We'll be going in that order on the board. So just kind of take a glance at what we'll be going in just a second. If you want to go and pull up the survey in week 16 or week 15, you can do that. We'll be doing that as well for each person. We'll get started in about a minute. Pizza good? All right. That's a new extra large they have, I guess.
Be shy.
If you go into week 15, the 15 tasks should have it where it says fill out survey for each presenter survey link. Yep. All right, let's go and get started. Final session for PCT110. Those presenting tonight, thanks for giving me your presentations on time and early. Appreciate it. Pretty much everyone's here. We'll fill out a survey for each presenter. In between each presenter, come up and dig into the tasty snacks that everybody's brought. 10 minutes, 75 for your paper, 75 for presentation. If you've not yet uploaded your paper, go ahead and do that between now and Sunday. Let's talk about final grade. Will be posted Thursday, December 15th. It's Thursday. I don't think it's on Thursday. It's December 15th. That's the date that will be posted. Final thought. You guys have been a great class. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Also learned some stuff in IT and IT security and networking. Next semester, Lord willing, and the creek doesn't rise, as we say in Missouri, or the creek don't rise. We're going to have hack nights resume again in the spring. And some of you went to that when we had it last year. So basically we meet in here one night a month, usually a Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what works out with schedule-wise, and work on whatever projects, programming projects, network security projects, AI, Internet of Things, stuff like that. And outside folks are invited in as well. So we usually have a couple web developers and mobile developers and inventors from the area come in and help students and just have a good time. And we eat pizza too each week, so, or each month that we do it. So anyway, I believe I have some of you next semester in the spring. If you've not yet registered for the spring courses, I recommend doing that. You can go to myreceipt.org to find out the courses we're teaching in our division for CIS, PCT, and web. Trying to think of what else. Oh, it was on the slideshow over there earlier, but the Internet of Things course in May, which is summer session 1, recommend thinking about taking that if you are interested in Internet of Things, which is things connected via the internet, can be controlled, either data be controlled by, or a thing like your thermostat at home, or a garage door, or a camera. And we'll be doing 4 activities, 1 per Saturday. It's about a 7-hour-a-day class for 4 Saturdays in a row. But you'll complete a project each Saturday and get to take the project home. So it's kind of cool. And so, in fact, I'll show you the website and some of the projects that we'll be doing. rbciot.app. And the 4 projects are right there. Well, move it over and you can see it, I guess. So those are the 4 projects there. Let's see if I can bring it down a little bit closer. That way. There we go. So the left one there is a motion sensor, motion detector. The second one here is give me a box picture frame, if you've ever seen those. It's a recessed picture frame, and in the back of it will be a piece of paper that will have on it a little arm or a little diagram of like rainy, weather jacket, short sleeve shirt, long sleeve shirt, jacket and hat, shovel. So depending on the weather, it'll tell you what to wear before you go outside. Behind the scenes, though, there's one of these proton devices going out to a web interface to see what the weather is, and then changing the dial every 15 minutes. And this one here is popular. This is like representing wearables that are like lit up in shoes, jewelry, earrings, jackets, shoes are wearing these now, and be controlled by an app. And then temperature reading, this is just showing a screenshot of a temperature reading and some of the code replies in Python. So each one of these you'll be learning Python a little bit, which if you don't know any language whatsoever, it's not a hard language to learn. And you'll learn per project how to use Python. Each one of these projects are on average only about 25 bucks a piece. And so I'm working on a grant to pay for all these. That way students don't have to pay for them. But each one of these protons are only like 20 bucks, and made by a company called Particle. They're Wi-Fi enabled. And then these sensors are all generally made by like Adafruit. It's a big company that makes them. But anyway, this sensor here is like $4. So and it's really inexpensive and really cool too. Particle lets you create these projects and use their cloud service up to 200 projects for free you can host. And so anyway, Internet of Things is a big thing on the horizon for companies. It's the biggest investment companies are making today is in the Internet of Things, because it's. But what's the issue is though, there's going to come a point to where they don't have trained individuals or skilled individuals to hire to program these Internet of Things in a secure way. So we're trying to kind of jump the gun and be ahead of it a little bit, even though technically we're behind because it's growing so fast. And so I think there's only like 250,000 developers in Particle. Yeah.
Well, the Internet of Things, you seem to be the most in the industry. This exploitation, hacking, brought up a lot.
It is, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why they need more people involved in ways to secure Internet of Things devices. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. And so there's ways to do it. And we'll talk about it in that class of setting up it behind a firewall to where it's, inaccessible, things of that nature. We have to VPN in to access them. But yeah, a lot of them today are, and on purpose too, it's by design, because one thing I like about it being that way now is it's fertile ground to really push the envelope on what this technology can do. But the flip side of it is, the danger of it is the lack of security. And so, oh yeah.
Higher setup.
Yep.
I paid 400 for a friend.
Right.
So I was like, see what I can do. Well, it was just simple web server on the machine. And you could just go in and click buttons.
Yep. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Go forward there.
Right, exactly. No, you're right. Most of them are very, and like I said, by design, they're made that way to where it's up to consumers and also to businesses to create security wrappers around it to make it a secure environment. But we'll talk about that in the summer session, because that is a big concern. But it's a job market that most students aren't aware of, that you need to be aware of, because companies are beginning to invest, well, not beginning, they are investing a lot of money in this technology. So anyway, so we're going to be going in this order: Sophia, Dean, Diama, Jody, and Noah. Everybody has their presentations up or their tool up for the survey. Pointers for presenters: just be yourself when you're presenting. There are some folks presenting via video. Those that are presenting via video, which I believe is Diama, Jody, is that correct? Anyone else I'm missing that's video? All right. Everybody else is going to be presentation-wise. So those that are doing video, you'll come up and tell everybody your name, what your presentation was on. We'll start it, make sure everybody can hear it. And then when everybody's done, or when you're done with your presentation, just, thank everybody for their time. And because we have, back to back, we have things you have to move on pretty quickly here tonight. make sure and post your questions in the survey. Okay, so those that are presenting, just thank everybody for listening. You don't need to ask, is there any questions? Okay, even if you do that, if you do, don't, it's not bad if you do that, but you don't have to do that. Okay, just kind of put a mental note on that. If you're using cards for your presentation, that's fine. Some in my 110 or 130 use their phone. That's fine. Whatever thing that you want to use is fine to help you with notes. I will give you a 2-minute warning in the back. I'll be sitting back here by Jody at the back wall, and I'll give a 2-minute peace sign that, you know, you have 2 minutes left, and eight minutes goes by pretty fast, and so you'll do fine. Just talk to us like you're talking to me after class or talking to one of your friends, and you're gonna do a great job. Okay. All right. So first up, Sophia. All right. So while Sophia's coming up and getting ready, if you'd like to fill your plate one time, go ahead and do that, and we'll get Sophia's presentation up and running. I think yours is a cryptography. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, and also you have this little pointer. All right, and then this, you can point to whatever on it, and then let's go back, let's go forward.
Okay.
Right, there you go. And I will make sure it looks the same here and there. Great, great. All right, let's give Sophia our attention. All yours, Sophia.
Quick disclaimer, I'm not one for presenting, so I'm just going to try to get through this as painlessly as possible. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about cryptography today. We'll tackle about a lot of stuff. From what is cryptography, the history of it. I've got a short little activity that we can do, and the winner of that activity will get this oh so festive Christmas Hershey bar. Yeah. We'll talk about cryptology in action, and then just as a bonus, if there's time, we'll talk about some extra encryption you can incorporate into your lives. So, what is cryptography? Well, cryptography is the science of secret writing. Cryptanalysis would be breaking ciphers, and altogether it's cryptology. Fairly simple. So I'm going to start with two scenarios, just to kind of help you with the what is. Let's say John wants to send a message to Paul. However, Ringo might want to intercept that message, and to prevent that, we have cryptography. I pushed a button, I think.
Sorry.
Or you went to sleep.
My screen block?
It did.
Okay,
And you might have died. But I can keep talking
no, you're fine.
about the
I will
Beatles.
fix it for you. Yeah, you can keep going. I'll get it fixed. Keep
All
talking.
right, so cryptography can help with confidentiality to hide the contents of their secret message, integrity to prevent changes to the message, and authentication to verify the source and the integrity of that message. As you can see. So, second scenario. Say John wants to send his message to Paul, but rather than Ringo intercepting, maybe they don't trust each other. So will it bring in our trusted third party, TCP George, who can resolve any disputes between the parties? So he would use cryptography to authenticate John's identity, to assure everyone of the security of the data during transmission, and to verify delivery to Paul, making sure that everybody is happy. So to better understand how it works, I want to talk about the history. One of the first ciphers was the Caesar cipher, used as early as 58 BCE, obviously named after Julius Caesar. What he would do is he would shift the letters by a specific number, kind of like what you see here. So if his message was in big Gaul at dusk, and say the key for this one was 3, by shifting the letters 3 times, it becomes this gibberish you see here. Therefore, only the people who knew that the key was 3 would be able to translate it. This was pretty necessary because if you think about it, back then they couldn't just send a text message. They would have to send a messenger who either knew the words in his head or maybe he had a missive written down. And he would have to traverse through miles of enemy territory to get to where he needed to go. Hopefully the message was safe when it got there. This way, when the message was delivered, whether or not someone intercepting it spoke Latin, they probably wouldn't know how to translate it. So assuming Caesar's legates near the key, they could get their message and know to invade us. So here's the activity. Translate this with the Caesar cipher that I just described. The first one to succeed will get the specific Hershey bar. The key is 6. Just shout it out when you've got it. Just a quick message. Shift the letters 6 times to translate and decode the encryption. I need to write it down if that's easier.
So if you that blacks out again, just hit the space bar.
Okay,
I think you might hit, there might be a key on that thing that causes it to black out.
maybe.
Might be awesome.
Okay. I'm sweating like a sinner in church, so it could be that too.
Let's get to cracking.
Oh, who
people.
said that?
You got it?
You got it. Oh,
What is it?
happy holidays.
Oh,
Holiday.
happy holiday.
Well, whoops. Okay, so since these days cryptography has become a lot more sophisticated, it's prevented the Wiki assassination of Elizabeth in 1587 by decoding a message planning her assassination. The Nazi Enigma machines were decrypted in World War II, but that really sucked. It was difficult. For a modern example, we've got banking. I mean, if you think about all the sensitive information and financial records we transmit between banks, payment vendors, and customers, all those records are at one point stored in a database. And if without encryption, any Joe Schmo could access that and get into your information. So with all of the changes in modern history and the way that we transmit our data now, it's more and more important to employ encryption, cryptography to protect our information. So the best way to use something is to understand how it works. You're probably familiar with, obviously, encryption and decryption, turning something into encrypted code, plain text, and then translating the ciphertext back to the way it was before. Well, there's 3 main algorithms for this: symmetric, asymmetric, and hash function. So in a symmetric key, you would just have one key. Both the sender and the receiver share the same key to encrypt and decrypt. So in my earlier example, John and Paul would both have access to the means by which to decrypt the messages sent between each other. In an asymmetric key, it's a little different in that there's a public key that anyone, like George and Ringo, can see. And then there's 2 private keys, one for John and one for Paul. The message is encrypted with John's key and then decrypted with Paul's key. An example of a hash function would be a password. When you enter or create a password for the first time, it's run through the hash function, and that encrypts it into a string which is stored. So the password you enter is never actually stored, the encrypted string is. So then anytime you enter that password, it's run through that same hashing algorithm and then regurgitated as the same mess of an encrypted string, and they're compared, and that's how you would log in or out. If it doesn't match the encrypted string, then it's not successful. We also employ something called polymorphism today, which, as simply as possible, would just be a cipher that changes every time you use it. So if you enter the same thing twice or 3 times, it's going to be different each time when it's encrypted. So there are 4 types of cryptographic functions: authentication, to establish the identity; non-repudiation, to make sure no one can deny anything they did; confidentiality, to guard the sensitive data and records and information; and integrity, to ensure that it's not viewed or altered during transmission or change. So for the everyday user, you would use cryptography when you're using a credit card, connecting to Wi-Fi, visiting a website, all kinds of stuff that you use to protect your information and assets without even realizing it. And if you're interested in a little bit of encryption in your life, you could look into getting a VPN to create a secure connection to another server or another network over the public internet. The HTTPS protocol increases the security of your web browser with an asymmetric public key infrastructure. This will scramble the messages sent between your computer and the website to help you prevent you from being hacked. There's also that disk encryption, BitLocker for Windows, Firewall 2 for Mac, can protect you using the AES cryptography algorithm, which will provide encryption for entire volumes. But make sure you write down your credentials, because if you lose that, you're probably never going to get it back again. And then always remember that it's not perfect. There's always a chance that the worst could happen. And especially as technology develops and times change, the more we need to understand and educate ourselves to better protect ourselves. Thanks for your time.
All right, refresh your plates after you submit your survey. Refresh your survey, and then Dean can make his way up. That would be great.
So, still shaking.
All right, sir. So that's the pointer.
Okay.
Back. And I think she did press this. Let me try it just to make sure. Oh, that's what it is. Just black it out.
All right.
So anyway, if that happens, just push it again. Okay. So unblock it. All right. Cool. You did. Okay, let's test that just to make sure. Let's make sure. Does it automatically start? Okay. Make sure it's got enough volume here. All right, cool. Yeah, we're good. Looks like it's playing good. I'm gonna go ahead and rewind it back just to make sure. All right.
Thank you.
Everybody get stuff? I wanted to. All right. All right, let's give Dean our attention.
All right, I did my presentation paper on IP cameras. I have a little video. I'm catching a cold, so I put a video in right up front so I wouldn't have to talk a lot. Kind of cheated a little, I apologize, but it'll explain quite a bit of the basic stuff.
We'll just have to press the.
I gotta hit the play. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
In today's digitally connected world, our computers and mobile devices can communicate anywhere there is a network. IP cameras that connect to this network allow us to view video from virtually anywhere in the world. This is how the IP camera works. The IP camera is simply an analog camera with an analog to digital converter and a computer all in one box. In a previous video, we described how the analog camera works.
We didn't see that.
The camera has a lens and a sensor that converts the light into electrical signals. Old analog cameras used a vacuum tube with sweep circuits that moved an electron beam across a sensor. It picked up the signal stored on the surface of the sensor, and this signal is amplified, timing signals are added, and the composite video signal is sent to the coax output of the camera. The latest CMOS sensors provide higher resolution video than the older VGA-type cameras. They contain millions of elements or pixels. The IP camera takes advantage of the megapixel sensors, allowing us to see our world in much higher clarity. Inside the IP camera, there is an analog to digital converter that transforms the analog signal to a digital stream. The digital stream is made of ones and zeros, defined as a binary code. The code defines each element of the picture, defines the color and intensity of each element. The microprocessor compresses the video. MJPEG was the first type of compression used. MPEG-4 was developed to reduce the bandwidth and total data required. The latest HDOC264 compression provides the best compression but requires a lot of computer capability. The microcomputer places the coded video into packets so it can be sent to the network. There are a number of different protocols used. For example, TCP/IP uses an IP address to define each computer on the network. The protocol also assures that the message is received correctly and how to handle error conditions. The camera uses an RJ45 connection instead of a coax BNC connector. So the IP camera is now part of a computer network. As a matter of fact, it has its own IP address and looks just like another computer on the network. The IP camera provides a lot more capability than the old analog cameras. Its higher resolution allows us to see things much clearer and to recognize details that we couldn't see before. It allows us to view the world, to store the video on our computer's hard drives, and to increase our security. When you need
So that's pretty much how it works. I gotta advance here. It's gonna give me crap now.
Just click anywhere outside the video,
Okay,
and then you should be able to.
there we go. All right. There's two types of deployment for IP cameras that you can use. The first would be adding your camera to an already existing network, just using your computer or server to store the video. Most IP cameras use a PoE over either the router or the switch to power, and then they send that signal back over. There are wireless ones also, but you have to follow with them locally with either 24 volt or 24 volt AC, 12 volt DC for most manufacturers, but they vary, so you kind of have to do some checking. Second type uses an NVR, which is a network video recorder, which kind of takes, it combines, actually let me skip right here, it shows you a little better. This is a little bit of an older slide, but it combines the PoE switch and the NVR, acts as the computer, so it processes, it holds, and stores all the video for remote access on either your mobile devices, mobile devices, or computers that are connected locally or through the internet. Depending on the manufacturer as well, some require some port forwarding. Newer technology, it's just a QR scan and it opens up what you need. Everything's stored in a cloud-based type system for you to access your video via that way. Some do charge for cloud-based, some manufacturers charge for that. But the NVR typically, you can get various different sizes. Most run in like 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on type connections. You can connect that many cameras. Every manufacturer, though, does have a calculator and or a service rep that I recommend calling before installing any cameras, because they can help you set you up properly on your system, but make sure that you have enough storage also, depending on how many cameras you need. A 4 to 8 channel NVR usually has between 1 and 2 terabytes. If you're recording on motion, 2 terabytes will give you several months, like 3 to 4 months with 4 to 8 cameras of storage. So you can go back quite a ways. On a residential or something like that, it's very handy because you don't really typically need a long period of time of storage. You just need a few weeks or a month. If something happens, you can go back relatively quickly and find out what happened. There are two basic types, or the most common types of IP camera are a bullet that looks like this, and then the dome that is like this. Bullets are pretty standard in most applications, to where they're zoomable. They have a feature called PTZ, which is pan tilt zoom. Some are motorized. Some you actually have to do at the camera, depending on your budget, of course. The domes are really nice in areas where you don't want anyone to tamper with the camera. Sometimes they're within reach, or in a public area, or you need the lens kind of covered to give it a little more protection from debris or whatever, depending on the facility. Some industrial applications are pretty dirty and stuff like that. I'm going to do a little bit of an example if I have time, and I'm going to use a point-to-point for my example. This is a LEGO DPL Propeller 5. This point-to-point is really cool. It's very inexpensive, like under 150 bucks roughly, list even, and it'll carry 170 megabytes per second across its point when it's set point-to-point. Now, each camera, typically a high definition, whether it's analog or an IP camera, a regular analog camera uses about 1 megabyte per second. The HD analog and IP cameras typically use about 2.5. So with that 170, ceiling, you've got plenty of room to shoot multiple cameras from point to point from a building to another building. I am going to also use a 5-port switch because I need PoE to power my cameras. Lots of Cat6, plenty of RJ45 connectors. This is an example that I kind of set up as far as how you would deploy a system like this is a 4-camera IP system, and I'm going to use all 4 bullets for this, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little briefing, I guess, and break it down slightly. Building 1 here, we're going to say is the offices. Building 2 is a manufacturing facility. They want cameras mainly on the 3rd building to kind of catch the traffic coming in, parking, trucking. You got a dock. There's always accidents can happen around a dock area, so a lot of companies like to see the dock. But there's, obviously it would be too expensive. Even actually the cable, I did the math on this one. The cable to run from here to here is more expensive than the point-to-point. I mean, it's ridiculous. That doesn't seem right, but it is. So I've set up a camera on this corner to catch this garage door, here to catch the parking lot, this for the dock, and then the one over here is for the office parking. All 3 of these cameras will plug into this 5-port Cisco switch that I showed you, and then they travel across that point-to-point, which is basically just an invisible Ethernet cable. They go to the NVR, which is here, where everything is processed and stored and accessible via remote or locally. And then it does connect to the local LAN for your remote access and or your local access on PCs or mobile devices or whatnot. I think that's roughly about it. The NVR typically also is the most expensive part. Usually, most cameras you can get retail. Some nicer cameras even for 200 bucks or less. Some, they kind of vary between that 150, 250 mark for really nice IP cameras. And the picture is phenomenal. As we saw in the video, a lot of that is IP type camera. The megapixel rates are different. You can get from 1 to 28 to 6. I mean, it's almost endless now. Their technology changes almost daily. So there's many different choices. But the manufacturers, again, they all have calculators that can help you deploy a system that fits your network speeds, network size. The one thing I will caution people about is your ISP and network providers may not have speeds capable to view some of these things remotely from outside the network. I've had issues where I install a lot of these systems and I'm in a rural area and I do a speed test and you have 0.7 upload speed. It's not going to work. It will not even, even one analog camera is 1 megabit. You can't even get 1, 0.7. It's not going to travel through there. So your throughput is just not there. So that being said, definitely do your math or talk to your manufacturers and see what's going on or how many cameras you can put on your system or if you need to upgrade. There are also, with the IP cameras, there are some really cool industrial and larger commercial scale stuff that you can get where there's server racks. And I've done a job recently. The guy had 64 cameras put in and then was upset that he couldn't run them all and view them all at 30 frames per second. And I'm like, are you in a casino? 30 frames per second. You think about that. You blink your eye and there's 30 frames running through, and all this gets put into a packet, and is run through the LAN. So we had a little bit of issue and kind of back and forth with the guy because when we spec the system out, you spec it out as you can have 30 2 megapixel cameras at 10 frames per second for this system, but he wants it 30. So, you know, we have to upgrade.
That's when you make a note saying.
That's it. And you make notes in all of your, you know, all of your stuff, and you follow them, whatever, as much as you can. One other thing that I will add before I'm done, before you install any kind of a system, always do a walkthrough. Always make sure that your paths for your cable are clear, or what materials you need to go through these walls sometimes. Make sure that you have access to your usually janitorial type closet where there's mops and rooms and everything on top of you, and then they put the rack up here so you can't get to it, you know. But the limited space, you got to make sure that all of your connectivity points are able to be connected, because there are a lot of obstacles in buildings like an office, for example. Not so much in manufacturing, in an office or a home. It's kind of difficult to get around certain things. So if you have any other questions, or if you do have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them at any time.
I mean, it's very certain. What really recommended? Like I have a dash cam.
Mm-hmm.
720 at 30 frames or 60 and 1080.
Right.
32 bit amount of space. Actual what you need, but what point should you whatever. Yeah. Especially with the dash cam, the light license.
Right. Right.
Or it's just blurry, nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all the stuff that I've dealt with is adjustable in a way that you can lessen your impact on the net. Frame rate, resolution, and one other that brought a blank can be brought down. You know, you only really need 6 to 10 frames per second, unless you're in a casino and you want to see somebody steal.
High quality.
Right, super high quality. And even with 6 to 10 frames, you're still getting amazing video. You're not going to miss, you know, any of that 20 other frames, unless you're going back and looking at frames or casino game where you have dealer sleight of hand type stuff. You know, so you can streamline, definitely adjust and streamline to fit the network. If you want to squeeze an extra camera in, say, you can bring down your resolution on other frame rates that fit that other camera and still stay within your boundary.
Pre-made ones like local business worked with, already had one, kind of like how you were showing. They were hardwired, but they streamed. You could look at it from your phone.
Yep.
Look, they're all at 30 FPS and what quality. It was just terrible.
Right. Yeah, and it's taking up a ton of space on the network. Not really doing much good. Right.
So I'm just wondering, that kind of stuff, their way, customized. I know everything varies, but is there normally something good?
Other than the camera itself, you know, really, if you're running connected to an already existing network, the NVR, if you have an NVR system, you can do everything. Reach every camera individually and set each spec per application. You know, some are darker areas, want a little more contrast to get light reflection, things like that. You know, license plate camera, like you said, is really good. There's nothing until that vehicle comes into that frame that might be really nice ones. I just had a demo the other day. This thing is 100 feet away and you can see it clear as day. There's no blur whatsoever. I don't remember what the pixelation was on the camera, but it was like 16 pixels. Not outrageous. So, but the technology has really come along in the last 5 years. No doubt.
That's good, man.
All right, thank you.
Always up next.
All right, y'all get it started. Hurry up over here. You can come walk around here if you like. Everybody else go get a plate of food. All right, so let's see. Stimmer, bloop. I believe that is it.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yep, we got all the way at the beginning. All right, and so whenever I'll have everybody get attention, and then I'll have you tell everybody your name, what you did the presentation on. I'll hit play, and you can sit down here, and then when it's done, thank everybody for the time. Okay. Oh. Tweezers. Yeah, may drop them. All right. Let's go ahead and refresh your surveys if you haven't already done so. And refresh your survey and let's begin. Go ahead. It's all yours. Yeah, I'll go ahead and hit play if you want to just go ahead and tell everybody.
Yes, everything is there.
Everything's there? Okay. All right, we'll do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diane Vasquez, and my topic is TCP/IP. TCP/IP stands for TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, and IP, Internet Protocol. The Transmission Control Protocol,
I'm going to redo the screen. Hang on.
Yes.
The screen's a little too big on that side.
Yeah.
We'll fix it. There we go. How's that?
Hello, everyone. My name is Diane Vasquez, and my topic is TCP/IP. TCP/IP stands for TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, and IP, Internet Protocol. The Transmission Control Protocol, TCP, is one of the main protocols of the Internet Protocol suite. TCP is part of the popular TCP/IP combination used by the Internet. The Internet Protocol, or IP, makes sure data on the Internet gets to the right place. Then TCP makes sure the data is put in the right order and none of it is missing. I just want to give you a look on how TCP/IP works compared with our mail system. First, we have a user. This user wants to send a letter. This letter will be called packet. Now, to get that packet from one computer to another, we need some way to addressing where this packet is going. And here is where we use the IP address, very similar to a mailing address. Now we addressed this packet. We need to send it across the network, and eventually that packet will reach its destination. Once this packet reaches its destination, a confirmation message is sent back to the original computer. This may seem complex, but this is what happens every time you connect into a website. TCP/IP is a whole suite of protocols, such as UDP, ARP, DNS, HTTP, and many more. TCP/IP software organizes the protocols in layers, so that 5 layers are stacked up in the TCP/IP model. Technically, the 5 layers in the picture comprise a stack, and the protocols that sit in these layers comprise a protocol stack. Each layer of the stack depends on the layers below it. That is, each layer services the layer above or below it. When two computers communicate, each computer has its own set of layers. When you send a message to another computer on the network, your information starts at the top layer of your computer, travels down all the layers to the bottom of the stack, and then jumps to the other computer. When your information arrives on the other computer, it starts at the bottom layer and moves up the stack to the application in the top layer. Each layer has special function. The lower layers are hardware-oriented, and the highest layer provides user services such as email, file transfers, and general network monitoring. TCP/IP versus IPX. Internet World Packet Exchange, IPX, was the network layer protocol in the SPX protocol suite. IPX is derived from Xerox network systems. It may act as a transport layer protocol as well. The IPX SPX protocol suite was very popular through the late 80s into the mid 90s because it was used by the novel network operating system. Because of novel network popularity, the IPX became a prominent internet working protocol. A big advantage of IPX was small memory footprint of the IPX driver, which was vital for DOS and Windows up to the version Windows 95 because of limited size of the conventional memory. Another IPX advantage was an easy configuration of the client computers. However, IPX was not good for large networks, such as the Internet. That's why its usage decreased as the boom of the Internet and made TCP/IP nearly universal. Open system standards like TCP/IP provide the agreed upon rules for communications between computers, independent of any vendor's proprietary product. TCP/IP was adopted as a U.S. Department of Defense standard in 1980. The interoperability of the TCP/IP standard has allowed applications to be built at higher layers of abstraction without being burdened by the details of individuals. Lower layer implementation. The modern Internet and most communication use the Internet Protocol, IP. The TCP/IP model is technically more in line with modern network implementation. The layers within the TCP/IP model are considered less rigid than that of the OSI model, which basically means that many protocols implemented can be considered in gray areas between one area and another. Nowadays, every computer on the Internet supports TCP/IP. TCP/IP is important because the whole Internet runs over it. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, the research branch of the U.S. Department of Defense, created the TCP/IP model in the 70s for use in ARPANET, a wide area network that preceded the Internet. TCP/IP was originally designed for the Unix operating system, and it has been built into all the operating systems that came after it. At the same time, ARPA funded a project to develop a portable operating system, which eventually converged with Unix. The University of California released a special popular version of this ARPA-funded Unix, which also incorporated TCP/IP. Because its development was publicly funded, it was available for free. As universities found that they had TCP/IP functionality at their disposal via BSD Unix, many began to form regional networks that eventually converged into the one large network that is now known as the Internet. The TCP/IP model and its related protocols are now maintained by the Internet Engineering Task Force. IP version 4 and IP version 6. IP version 4 is the fourth revision of the Internet Protocol, used to identify devices on a network through an addressing system. With the growth of the Internet, it is expected that the number of unused IP version 4 addresses will eventually run out, because every device, including computers, smartphones, and game consoles that connects to the Internet requires an address. IP version 6 is also called IPNG, and it is the newest version of the Internet Protocol, reviewed in the IETF standards committees to replace the current version of IP version 4. IP version 4 is written in decimal as 4 numbers separate by periods. Each number can be 0 to 255. And an IP version 6 addresses are 128-bit IP addresses written in hexadecimal and separated by columns. I can get to the conclusion that TCP/IP is the glue that holds together the Internet and the World Wide Web. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Let's give it a hand, you got it. All right, Jody. Come on and refresh your plates, commit your survey, and refresh. And Jody has a video as well.
All right, I'm Jody, and we're going to know a lot about TCP/IP because I'm doing the same. I covered just a little few different subjects on it, but mostly the same.
All right,
Today's high-tech world, information
We'll resize here, so I'll make sure it's not too small.
Yeah, this is so I didn't get nervous.
Yeah, no, that's yours. I'm gonna move yours out of the way and bring his in.
transmission is performed with different protocols. In today's high-tech world, information transmission is performed with different protocols. What are protocols? A protocol is a system of procedures that data must follow in order for the information to be transmitted from one point to another. There are a few different types of protocols. The protocol that has been standardized and in the past decades has gained the most use is TCP/IP. Transmission Control Protocol and Internet Protocol. This is the type of transmission we'll be discussing today. My name is Jody Moore, and today I would like to discuss TCP/IP. In this presentation, we will discuss TCP/IP and what it is, some of the protocols it uses, a datagram packet, and what is a TCP socket. Also, the different IP versions, which are IPv4 and IPv6. Since its inception in the 1970s, the TCP/IP protocol suite has evolved into the industry standard for data transfer protocols. This takes place at the network and transport layers of the open systems interconnection. That's the OSI model. In addition to the suite, it includes a myriad of other protocols that operate as low as the data link layer and as high as the application layer. As seen here, the TCP/IP can be broken down into a 4-layer model: the application layer, the transport layer, the internet layer, and the network interface. Each layer has its own suite of protocols that help the layer perform functions and record data. The first layer we will discuss is the applications layer. It is in this layer that the transmission journey begins. The application layer is where all the programs like browsers or your file servers are used to exchange information. For instance, mail server, your mail server is located in this layer. SMPT, FTP, HTTP, POP3, these are all protocols that reside in the application layer. The application layer gathers the information and hands it to the transport layer where the packet is transported. The transport layer, using the transmission control protocol, is where the information will be split into packets to be transmitted in smaller form. The packets of information are then sent to the internet layer. The internet layer deals with the IP addressing. In this layer, the addressing takes place. Each packet is addressed and delivered to the appropriate network interface. The network interface is where all information passes through. This would include Wi-Fi networks, an Ethernet network, and even DSL networks. How these connections take place is called a TCP socket. A TCP socket is a one endpoint of a two-way communication link between two programs running on the network. A socket is bound to a port number so that the TCP layer can identify the application that the data is being sent to. As the client makes a request, the server creates a socket and binds it to a port. The reverse happens when the server responds. The client creates a socket, binds it to a port, and the connection is set. What carries this data is called a packet. A packet is a block of data that carries information necessary to deliver it, similar to a postal letter, which has an address written on its envelope. A datagram is defined by Internet Protocol. Seen here, the first 5 or 6 32-bit words of the datagram are called the header. The header is 5 or 6 words long. They are actually 5 words long. The 6th word is optional. Because the header length is variable, it includes a variable called the Internet Header Length, the IHL, that includes the length in words of the size of the header. The header contains all the information needed to deliver the packet. The Internet Protocol delivers the packet by checking the destination address in the header. The destination address is the address of the host on the local network receiving the information. If the destination address is not in the local network, the packet is handed to the gateway for delivery. These steps are repeated on every network the packet travels until the end destination, or the number of hops it takes reaches the maximum allowed times. At that point, the packet is destroyed and retransmitted. TCP protocol breaks down the data into packets no larger than network MTUs. That's the maximum transmission units. Maximum transmission units can range from a max of 1,200 to a max of 4,600, depending on the network. Most networks' max capacity is 1,500. The packet will travel from router to router, with each router stripping header information out and replacing it with its own. The destination information will always remain in the header info. With the use of different transmission protocols, the data is routed to the destination. While en route, the data packet will go through a series of handshake acknowledgements and ARPs that determine the route the packet will take. If the packet is too large for the network that it is routing through, the packet is split up in a way called fragmenting, as seen here. It divides the data into small packets with the same ending destination. So if the packet is traveling on a system that is, say, 2,400 MTUs max, and it comes to a system that is smaller, they'll be broken down and fragmented until the end destination. After the packets travel to the destination, it will travel up the protocol stack of the receiving computer. This is the job of the TCP to select the port to connect to. Some port numbers are assigned specific services and are standardized by the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. That's the IANA. Every TCP IP system has a file called services that contains a list of common ports and services. Once the port is selected and a socket is initialized, the packet completes its travel. How these addresses take place is a system in the IP called IPv4. The addressing is performed by a protocol, IPv4. IPv4 is a 32-bit numeric address written as 4 numbers separated by periods. As seen here, each number separated by a period is known as an octet. Each octet ranges from 0 to 255 possible numbers. IPv4 can produce over 4 billion addresses. That's 4,294,967,269 to be exact. At the Internet's first inception, this was thought to be enough to cover the addresses needed. It was soon realized that IPv4 was not going to be enough. to cover the exponentially expanding use of the internet. A new version was developed, IPv6. IPv6 is a larger format than IPv4. IPv4 consists of a 32-bit address. In contrast, the IPv6 version consists of a 128-bit hexadecimal address system, giving the possibility of producing 340 undecillion addresses. The belief is now that IPv version 6 will be enough addresses for the foreseeable future. As data travels through the networks of today, TCP IP provides needed information to perform this task on every packet. Thank you for your attention, and that concludes my presentation.
Well, good job. You can do it, buddy. All right, come on up and fill your plate. One last time. Save the best for last here. All right, here we go. Noah's got some handouts here for you.
Common term, yeah. Yeah, but we know a lot about it now. I didn't know nothing about it. In case you didn't hear me over there, these are just common terms. Some are sensationalized, some aren't entirely accurate. They were taken from different sources to give an idea how much malware varies.
All right, sir. Pointer, advance back. This one, if you hit on this one, don't like it, I'll turn it back. That's for it. You need more of these up here?
What was the
What? That's the pointer. The light. Advance. Advance right. Go back left. If you accidentally hit the bottom one, bottom middle, that's black it out. Press it again.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yep. Okay. All right, let's get more attention. Well, here's Noah. Refresh your presentation surveys. You have already done so. All right,
Start whenever?
Yep, already.
All right. My name's Noah. I've been working with computers in many different ways, different platforms, different devices, probably since around the age of 8, but really started to get into programming and development at the age of 12. And as I delved into that, I kind of got into different hacking communities, which are pretty open. I mean, you have hackforums.net. They're wide. I think hack forums at about 1 million users right now. So that covers quite a bit of information on that website alone. So it's a simple definition of malware that's normally sensationalized. It's really just any kind of code, script, something that somebody's modified that has malicious intent. It can be simplified down to that. There's many different categories with it, but expanding on it too much just leaves too many possibilities. It's crucial to know about because it's ever increasing. There's some statistics that I have in future slides that just kind of give an example that they're not dumb. Developers of malware are getting smarter and smarter. There's different ways of exploiting different devices every day, especially browsers. You'd be surprised how many just Chrome extensions alone have something to, whenever you click submit on a form, it steals all that text field information. So protecting yourself is not that hard, but software extensions, anything alone won't protect you. You also have to apply a little bit of common sense. The biggest occurring platform that is being affected is the mobile devices. iOS isn't as bad, but Android definitely is because of how open source and how easily people can access different things available. Instead of the typical damaging your device and then haha, leaving a message and leaving, it's all about remaining hidden and stealing information in the background. Not Facebook style, but anything in regards to pictures, passwords, compact databases. They're going to take that, and in some cases, I've seen blackmail used many times. So you have some statistics. So overall, malware have increased 54%, and this 2018 report covers last year. So 27% were found in the lifestyle category, 20% found in music and audio, and 10% found in the books. But third-party app stores are the absolute worst. Please, God, don't ever use them. And if you choose to, please make sure it's open source. But the most popular types of mobile malware are banking malware, self-explanatory. They really remain dormant, looking for apps or data in regards to banking, accounting, any kind of financial information. Mobile ransomware, I haven't seen that as much, but it's still out there. It'll encrypt everything except what's necessary to run your phone and make you pay for it. What's funny is you actually can pay for it and they'll give you the key, either with Bitcoin, which is pretty much untraceable, or some of the dumber ones use PayPal, but they typically are in Russia, Ukraine are the main focus of those. Mobile spyware, they're able to look at anything you do, see. Multimedia, that's more of an old school one that's normally incorporated with spyware or the adware. These three kind of overlap. And then the SMS Trojans, aka rats, aka remote administration tools, I think are the number one for the most evil. You get complete and total control over the device, including hiding the malware itself. And to protect specifically mobile devices, you're going to want to make sure you're on a secure Wi-Fi network. From my own testing, Rock Valley's is pretty secure. I wasn't able to jump between, try to intercept. It's all pretty locked down and separated into multiple groups. But I'm going to add more. It seems like they get cut off. So it's not just emails like old school, like the I love you virus that everybody remembers. It's emails now will come in a form and they know you're looking at it in a compact screen. So they're going to hide different buttons, different ads, and there's going to be a bunch running in the background. I just reset it with that button.
You keep talking, I'll put my block on there or something. You know, just keep advancing. I'll give my back to the beginning or something.
So you're going to want to find some form of an antivirus, but just like the slide says, ensure that it's safe. So there's plenty of, I wouldn't say malicious, more evil, or they want money out of you, but they'll still protect you. But they don't really care of staying up to date or making sure that what they advertise is true. And then don't jailbreak or root your device. If you truly want it to be secure, don't do it. I mean, I did it. That's because I'm a developer and I like breaking things and testing things out. So if you know what you're doing, go for it. But in general, don't do it. It gives other apps complete and total access to even disable permission windows, bypass many security things that are in the operating system of the phone. Computer malware happens to be my specialty. It varies so much, but so many forms exist, and they come in different ways that to cover them all in simple definitions, like on the handout I gave, isn't enough. So it is switched from the trend quite a while ago of DOS. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the videos of some of the old school ones. They would make fun of you, delete all your files, and then boom, shut you down. Some of them, if they managed, would get into the BIOS and you wouldn't even be able to boot up anymore. Again, they prioritize discreteness. That is the biggest thing. Many people don't know, but there is a new tool, relatively new, that got popular within the past 5-6 years called Cryptors. It takes your malware, whatever you want to spread, and it loads it into what's called a stub. And that stub now contains the malware encrypted. So when you run that or scan it or put it on a website, it's going to look completely safe. There's going to be nothing going on. But when it's ran, when it's run in the right environment, it's going to inject itself in whatever process it sees fit, unless some kid just copied the code, which is actually pretty common. And it's the new perfect way of hiding malware. So either way, if the antivirus detects the payload, what came from the stub, the encrypted information, it doesn't matter because that stub is still there running with persistence. It's never going to go away unless you find it. And then Microsoft reported, I believe, last year that 1 in 14,000 downloads contain malware, but we all know that's from Internet Explorer and Edge. So not all malware, even if you run it, is for you, but it's going to stay dormant. You might just be the middleman for the next thing that they're looking for. Specifically, Rock Valley, if they were targeted and stuff was running on things with complete control, they would be looking for network vulnerabilities your computer basically used just to scan around, but not give you enough notice, use too much CPU, RAM, to use you as kind of a middleman. And then the general types of malware, which is so many different variations that these just kind of cover them all. Viruses, I think of as old school. Worms, you kind of get into when you first run the malware, it's going to try to immediately get into a place that doesn't alert you. Everybody knows about UAC, the little notification. A common thing is to bypass that as quickly as possible. And as soon as you can do that, you pretty much have complete control. So that's pretty much what worms are, but mostly implemented in the overall picture of a specific malware. And then Trojan spyware are the most evil. Again, complete control, like the VNC. View your screen, view what you're typing, and record audio, webcam. Anything connected to that computer is now theirs. Adware is very annoying. I'm sure you've all seen it or had it happen. It normally comes packaged with other software in the installation process. You miss that one checkbox, and all of a sudden, your home page is set to Yahoo or another one full of ads. And then this one varies with names, but dialer, zombie, botnet, IRC, botnet. It's just a combination of pretty much all the different kinds of malware. It's the same thing as the Trojan or spyware, except it's a collection of as many infected people as possible to use to kick people offline or further spread it. Otherwise, the common spreading methodologies are going to be the drive-by. Famous one was Flash. You would click allow and automatically download and run it. Spontaneity, which is spreading through a network-linked system. It's not very common, or typically happens in office settings where they don't care about security. Vulnerability, which is using existing flaws to just pretty much annihilate any sense of security. And then backdoors are a big one, which are implemented in some regular software or added later on to give people access. And then you have zero-day, which are the most dangerous. And you have exploits, which uses the loopholes or already existing vulnerabilities. Evasion, which would be the crypter, and then the blended threat, which a lot of people use nowadays to conceal many of it. So simply put, protect your computer with an antivirus, some kind of filter, firewall, or IDS, and then consistently scan, update, and use common sense, but not just straight common sense. Make sure you know. And then here's some just common examples. Right now, this is Rat written in C#, completely available, open source, and you can hide it with the crypter within 5 minutes. It's available on GitHub if you guys are interested, but as you can see, this is how simple it is. So I could have thousands of people. Keyloggers, sadly, I helped with both of these back in like 2011 and 12. This one got shut down, and the creator of this was just arrested in Germany a couple years ago. But each option is ridiculous. And then you have the classic password stealers, which are very tiny, 6 kilobytes to about 14 kilobytes. And they'll steal every bit of information you have and send it off to a server. Botnets, which is what the news seems to love to talk about, is again a rat, but a collection of victims used to normally take down networks that further spread. And then you have the most common networking, Wi-Fi attacks, man in the middle. This is actually a screenshot of somebody else's requests throughout my network. So here we have it.
Good information on the handout too.
Any questions?
All right. Well,
Did I go over?
What?
Did I go over?
you did. Don't worry about it. It was good. It's all right. I knew you did good. Everybody did an awesome job. All right. So wrap up here. I'll go over the screen I had up initially, which is final grade will be posted by December 15th. And then make sure you've registered for spring 2019 if you haven't yet done so. Hope everybody has a great Christmas and New Year. Try to have some days with no technology and spend time with your family and friends and pets and other non-electronic entities. All right. It will be healthy for you to do that, believe me. And I've always done this over the years. I try to, I think I told you guys the first few weeks of class, one day a week, I try to implement a no technology day. Generally for me, it's usually Sunday, but sometimes it's Saturday and Sunday. I'll try to do that, and that's really nice. I'll get out in nature, do some walking, play my guitar, play with the dog, the grandkids, and just everything but technology. It's really healthy for you to do that, especially like most of you are going into IT, maybe haven't yet worked in IT. It's really healthy for you to do that because you're around it all week. You're inundated with it all week, and it's really nice to have that break. And it helps you keep your passion for IT as well. It really does, because if you're in it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you can get burnt out very, very quickly. And so, which I've been there before many times. And so by giving yourself a day or two off of a break, because a lot of people that are in IT think when they're off time, people think, well, you can fix my computer on your off time. You probably like to play with a lot of games at night, or no, most IT folks don't like to do that. They're into music and they're into walking and into things that are non-technology related. And so, do what now? Yeah, exactly, right. Very good, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, just a word to the wise, technology is awesome. I love it. But I also love other things as well, more than technology, which would, again, be family, friends, things like that are real and can impact your life forever. So anyway, have a great Christmas and New Year. I'll see some of you next semester. If you have any questions or comments, or you need help over break on anything related to anything, technology-wise or other, shoot me an email. I'll be more glad to help you. All right? All right. What you brought tonight, if you could mind taking it with you, that'd be awesome. And last hour or 1:30 left some stuff too. So you're more than glad to take that as well. More than happy to take that as well. Like I know that root. Did anybody bring a root beer? I think that was left over from last time. The Sierra Mist. You can take that. Sierra Mist, root beer, take that. Pizza, wipe that out if it's not gone already. Desserts. Okay. Okay. No. No. Oh, did nobody busted into the desserts either?
I did.
You did? You did bust into it? Okay, awesome. Very great. And thanks for bringing everything. It's awesome. Great. Hey, you too. Have a good one. Enjoy it.
When I looked at the original announcement, it was 10 to 15 minute presentation.